What is up, Mythgardians? Leap Daniel here to talk some more about Mythgard. Today I want to talk about Journey of Souls. I'm not just reviewing cards, I'm also reviewing paths, powers, basically anything Mythgard. But before I talk about Journey of Souls specifically, I just want to give you my philosophy about paths in general. I think a lot of new players are kind of intimidated by paths because they're not something that's really found in other card games, and they tend to have a lot of text to them, and it can just be a lot to absorb. But at their core, paths are really simple. They're really just a hand advantage generator. You see, in Mythgard, you typically end up using about 2 cards per turn, one to burn for mana and one to play. But you only draw 1 card. So that would normally leave you resource starved pretty quickly because you're using up more cards than you draw. Paths exist to mitigate that. One way or another, they all put more cards in your hand, either to burn or to play. When you think about which path to choose, all you really need to do is think of which path best puts stuff in your hand for the deck that you're playing. Paths also do a couple other things. They have pursuit effect to offset the disadvantage of going second, and some of these pursuit effects are actually really powerful. And they also give you a certain amount of starting life, and the starting life doesn't have much of an impact. It's basically just a little tweak to make sure the paths are more or less balanced. The main thing to focus on when assessing a path is how effectively it generates cards in hand. So all that being said, let's take a look at Journey of Souls. So the path text is +3 starting life. Gather a soul when one of your non-ephemeral minions dies. So what does a soul do? Well, if you start your turn with 3 or more souls, you return the bottom minion in your boneyard to your hand, make it ephemeral, and then lose 3 souls. And the pursuit is start with 2 souls. Okay, so if you're going second, that means the first minion that dies, it's basically, unless something weird happens, it's going to go to your hand the next turn. So what are the best decks for this path? What decks want to run Journey of Souls? Well, most people know of this as the prototypical aggro path, or sometimes aggro and mid-range path. So more specifically than just going face, you want a deck that runs lots of minions. Even more specifically, minions prone to dying a lot. If you lose approximately a minion every turn, then you'll get some nice advantage with Journey of Souls. The classic thing to do is pack your deck full of cheap minions, especially minions with rush or awaken effects that will be useful the moment you get them back. When you do play non-minion cards, they're often draw cards to get you what else? Even more minions to rush down your opponent. You can also play the occasional removal spell to help you push through that last bit of damage to finish your opponent off. Ideally, though, even your removals would be minions, not spells. So instead of running Ignition, you could run Firesong Prodigy. The most popular deck by far that does this is Red-Orange Aggro. Red is the quintessential color for rushing, and orange has lots of value minions that help you draw more minions. And in fact, this is the deck that I used to get to Mithril just this month actually. So I will actually be showing you the game I played that got me into Mithril. However, I also wanted to experiment with a different take on this path. Spoiler, the experiment did not go that well, but I want to show it to you anyway, just as a learning experience. I wanted a slower deck with Journey of Souls. Not one that controlled with spells, but one that controlled kind of on board with minions that just punched down anything your opponent put up. And so I made a yellow-orange deck. And the whole thing was about getting out lots of big guys, especially Volkov Heavy, and just keep on getting him back. So if you could ramp up your mana and get out big minions really fast, then theoretically that could be a good way to run this path too, right? Even if you don't get as many to die off, since your big minions are on the bottom, you will get the best ones back. You could use the Reconstruct power and cards like Raid the Tombs to curate your Boneyard if any low-tier minions do end up on the bottom. I tried to use a method like this to abuse Volkov Heavy. Since it's a common, so you can run 4 of it, and it's super beefy, so I figured I could just kind of depend on it. I would use Grinning Kolobok and Foul Harvest to ramp up, and then start dropping heavy minions until my opponent was overwhelmed. However, it really didn't work out as well as I planned, since Foul Harvest requires 1 yellow gem and Volkov Heavy requires 2 green gems. You don't actually get much ramp out of it, since you're already burning at least 3 cards. And that's if your combo even lines up in the first place. Often you won't have the hand to ramp at all, in which case Foul Harvest just becomes 4 dead draws in your deck. Maybe someone will find a way to make a more ramp control style build for Journey of Souls, so I haven't totally lost hope on the project. Even if it can't be done with the current card pool, there will be new expansions eventually that might make it possible. For me, it was a failed experiment, but don't let that stop you from tinkering around and seeing if you can make it happen. So how should you play for Journey of Souls? Well, ideally, you want to burn your spells first, because your minions will generate advantage for you with Journey of Souls. So you'd rather draw into your spells but have minions right away. Try to get strong rush minions to die early, since it's better for you if they end up closer to the bottom of your boneyard. Note that board clears go left to right, so you will generally want to play to the right side first. This also applies to opponents if you're trying to counter an opponent who has Journey of Souls. You should also, board clears still go left to right from your perspective. They just mirror it in the game. So that way, when you have more mana, you can play bigger minions on the left. So you play your tiny minions on the right, and as you're building up mana, you play your bigger minions on the left. So when your opponent clears the board, you'll get the big guys back faster. You also want to pay a lot of attention to which of your minions are ephemeral. Ephemeral minions don't add to your soul counter, and they don't go to your boneyard. If you do get back a weak minion, you can just burn it. So if you get a weak minion from Journey of Souls, just burn it, and since it's ephemeral, you won't have to worry about drawing it later as a dead draw, whereas if you burn a non-ephemeral weak minion, you might draw it again, and where you would have preferred to draw a powerful late-game minion. So as far as my rating for the path, my rating for Journey of Souls, I've got to give it a 5 out of 5. It has a win rate of 52.6%, which is the highest win rate of any path. Shout out to Lonk the Sane for his article on paths. So where I got that information from. So much of the win rate is probably attributable to the fact that a top tier deck uses this path, but still, the path is part of what makes the deck top tier in the first place. So I want to show you a couple games, one that I won and one that I lost, where we see me using this path either well or poorly. So the first one I want to show you is the one where I won. I actually got to the Mithril rank in this game. So here we go. I think I make good use of the Journey of Souls path here. Let's turn down the volume a little bit. That's really loud. Okay, so I burn the spear since it's not a minion, and I want to hold on to minions as much as I can. And it's also orange, and I need a orange mana to play that turn. And I play it on the right because it's weak. He plays Maze far away because he wants to draw, but I have a rush. So I burn my Iron Flesh, play Trapezist, and prevent him from drawing, and go face. He kills my Rusher, which is good. I have a Rusher on the bottom of my Boneyard, and I burn Magmatar so I can rush this down and kill it. Again, I'm really spread out with my stronger minion on the left. That balance wasn't so good. He only drew 2 off of it, so that's good for me. It's slow for him. And now I burn Parry because there's no way I can play it. I play Fire Song. I'm actually playing off curve a little bit here, but I'm just filling the board with lots of stuff. And then he plays Rogue Eidolon. And here I think is where I make a kind of clutch play. I trade in that, and then I'm going to trade in Wings of Abaddon, which is a great card, but I decided to trade it so that it would be loaded up second in my Boneyard. So once I get back Daring Trapezist, the next thing I'll get back will be Wings of Abaddon. And that puts a lot of pressure on him because his life is already relatively low. So he goes for the Misanthropia play, which is really good here. I think he was playing around my Journey of Souls as well, because the Blight doesn't kick in until my turn has already started. So all of these souls won't kick in until the next turn. So that means I won't get anything back this upcoming turn. Even though I have a ton of souls. I have 5 souls. I don't get anything back until next turn. But I partially recover my board, applying lots of pressure. He defends with Misfortune and Samasek. And he plays a Forgeling. I get back Trapezist, so with Trapezist and Spear, I push for a lot of damage, even though I lose my minions. That just adds more souls to my Boneyard, which means I have more than 3, so I'll get Wings next turn, and he's at 4 life. So he takes out my Trapezist, and then I Wings him on a clear board, and he concedes. Okay, now let me show you guys a game that didn't go so well. I think in addition to having a worse deck, I made a few misplays perhaps. So this is me using that Soul Harvest deck where I try to get out lots of heavy guys really fast. Yellow-green. I start with Wake the Bones and Raid the Tombs. Cards you want to burn from the start because you start with your Boneyard empty. And I play Grinning Kolobok. Good thing to start with, so I'm glad I drew that. He also has Grinning Kolobok, and I can't challenge it because it's on a Cairnhenge. No trading there. I burn yellow for Maze. I don't know if that was wise. I wanted to, maybe if I could burn a second yellow gem, I could get out Beast of Plenty. But maybe I should have just played Born Again on curve. So I draw, and that Enchant Eater looks pretty good right now, because I really want to get rid of his Cairnhenge. But I don't have a 3-drop, so I just play Born Again. And one problem with playing Born Again is I would get nothing if that died first. But here, since Maze dies first, I at least get Maze, which isn't much, but at least I can burn it, and it won't go back to my deck. And so I'm putting the Enchant Eater down because I really want to kill Cairnhenge, but he comes in clutch with a Led Astray. So that was a really good move for him, and he has another Cairnhenge. So I give him kudos for that good move. And I'm really starting to rack up the yellow gems, and I have 5 gems now, so I can play Volkov Heavy. My Kalabak just isn't dying, so there's really no ramp. I never got any ramp in this deck. I really don't want him to bring back Draugr with that Necromantic, so I just run. Even though I've got this heavy, I've got to run. I burn the Foul Harvest. I don't know if that was wise. Maybe I should have just played as many Gamayuns as I could to get out lots of damage. Because he comes in with another Necromantic, and now my heavy is trapped. So I just trade. See if I can get something. I do get something. I get a Harvester, but it's only going to keep me alive. It's not going to actually do anything. Because his Draugr is going to clear it, and his Draugr fully heals when it kills it. So he has 2 Born Agains. I have 3 souls. So I get back my heavy, but I don't really have the board to utilize it. So I'm kind of under pressure here. And so even though I'm getting back good minions, it's not very helpful. He can get rid of it with his Detained and Deported. Yeah, really more the Deported. And then he just goes face. So that was that game. So the deck wasn't so great, and I think maybe I misplayed it a little bit too. But maybe one of you out there will come up with a nice way to play Journey of Souls slowly. I don't know. It's always worth being creative with Mythgard. So thanks for watching. Like if you liked it, and subscribe if you're looking for more Mythgard content. All right, goodbye.